Hello everyone, it's Crystal. Today we're going to be talking about the terms find out, figure out, be aware of, be familiar with, and to know. All of these terms can be translated as the Korean word 알다, but the meaning and the way we use these terms can be very different. So let's go ahead and figure it out together. Let's start with find out. When we find something out, we discover, learn, or verify some information. This often happens by accident, but this is not always the case. I don't know what happened, but I will find out for you. Could you find that out for me? When she found out her boyfriend was cheating on her, she was shocked. I really needed to find out what happened in the last episode of that drama, so I checked online.
So, you found something out?
Remember that find and find out are different. When we find something, it is usually a physical object or a location, while find out is usually discovering or verifying some information. So, could you find some batteries for me? We're talking about a physical object that we are searching for versus, could you find out if those batteries are rechargeable? This is verifying or learning some information. Let's move on to figure out. When we figure something out, we are solving a problem or discovering an answer to a question. Usually we put some effort into solving the problem. Do you think you can figure it out? I'm trying to figure out a way to make this work. Don't worry, I'll figure something out, meaning I'll find a solution. Have you figured out how much this all will cost us? It took me days to figure out what had happened.
We'll figure something out, Papa.
There's nothing to figure out.
We'll figure something out, Papa.
There's nothing to figure out.
When we compare find out versus figure out, the biggest difference is that we typically find out information by chance, or the answer already exists and we discover it, while figuring out something is when we learn information through action or effort. I found out my friend was pregnant. I got this information by chance. Maybe I heard her talking about it to someone else on the phone, and that's how I got my information. Versus, I figured out my friend was pregnant. I got this information through logical reasoning. I saw her go to the bathroom many times, and during lunch she seemed nauseous, so I thought she was pregnant, and I was correct. Let's look at some common sentence structures where we often use find out and figure out. First, we often use the sentence structure find out or figure out plus noun, as in, please find that out for me. I couldn't figure it out. This noun is usually something, but we can also use find or figure someone out as well, although the meaning is slightly different. He found me out. He discovered something I did, usually something bad I was trying to hide. I can't figure you out. I can't understand something about you. You confuse me. Next, we often use the sentence structure find out or figure out plus sentence. This is discovering or learning about a complete action that has happened, as in, when she found out her husband had bought her a new car for her birthday, she was really surprised. He figured out she was pregnant when she asked for strange foods all the time. Most commonly, we use find out and figure out combined with question words like how, when, why, and so on. As in, find out why something happened or figure out when something happened. She tried to find out what had happened to her friend. I'd like you to figure out how much this all will cost us. Now let's look at be aware of. When we are aware of something, we have some limited knowledge about it, or we simply know it exists. Children need to be aware of cars when they walk in the parking lot. I wasn't aware he was sick. Were you aware of the risks involved?
Yes, I'm aware of that. Yes, I'm aware of that.
When we are almost certain but not completely sure, we often say the phrase, no, not that I'm aware of. At the doctor's office, they might ask you, does your family have a history of heart problems? And you could say, no, not that I'm aware of. This is similar to saying, no, I don't think so, but sounds a bit more professional or formal. Next, let's look at be familiar with. When we are familiar with something, we have some knowledge about it. Usually, we have some experience with that thing. He is already familiar with the situation. I am not familiar with that area. Could you show me around? I wouldn't say I am fluent in Korean, but I am familiar with the language.
You familiar with meme theory?
I'm familiar with everything, but go on.
You familiar with meme theory?
I'm familiar with everything, but go on.
The biggest difference between be aware of and be familiar with is that being familiar with something means you have more knowledge about that thing, while being aware of something means that you have less knowledge about it, or you only know that it exists. I am aware of Microsoft software. I know it exists, but I don't know much about it. Versus, I am familiar with Microsoft software, meaning I have some knowledge or experience about it. So let's look at these sentences. I am aware of New York City. This means that I know New York City exists. This can sound pretty strange because New York City is so famous that most people are going to know about it already. So instead, we would probably use the term be familiar with because everyone already knows it exists. So we could say, I am familiar with New York City, or I'm not that familiar with New York City, depending on whether we have a lot of knowledge about it or very little knowledge. Finally, let's take a look at no. No can have a lot of meanings, but generally it means to have information in your mind, to understand something clearly, or something you have learned. We can know something or someone. I know this song. Turn it up. Do you know her? Could you introduce us? I know how to play the piano very well. Know can also be used similarly to be aware of. We know or are aware of something that exists. But know can also mean that we have deeper knowledge about something, while be aware of usually means we have very little knowledge about that thing, or we only know that it exists. I know all about BTS. I have a lot of knowledge about them, versus I am aware of BTS. I have very little knowledge, or I only know that they exist. Also, if you say know of, this means that you are aware something exists. This has the same meaning as be aware of. So if you say, I know of BTS, this is basically the same thing as saying, I am aware of BTS. So you might have limited knowledge about it, or you only know that they exist.
Not that I know of. Not that I know of.
I hope you all were able to figure it all out. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and leave them down below. Like and subscribe for new content, and until next time, bye!